bill at a time. That's a lot of money. So, something to think about. Okay, let's keep going. Carter's background, peanut farmer. He's been in the military, had no national political experience. The first office he ran for in 1962 was school board. He was elected to the school board. Was it in Athens, Georgia, I think? Wherever he's from. I think it's Athens. He got elected to the school board. And then he was very popular there, and he decided to run for the House of Representatives or Senate in the state and got elected, and then he got to be governor of the state of Georgia. And the Trilateral Commission, the liberal think tank, put him up against, was backing him financially. Coca-Cola Company based in Atlanta was backing him financially. So he was able to run against Gerald R. Ford, who was immensely unpopular for pardoning Nixon. And he got to be president. But he'd been in the Naval Academy, he'd been an engineer on a nuclear submarine. That's a pretty important job. He's a smart guy. And I think he meant well. I think he wanted to do good things for the American people, but it was really tough for Jimmy to do that in the time he was there. We're not worried about that. Carter's foreign policy, he supported human rights. He supported, he was very direct with the Soviet Union. And the war in Afghanistan, that was about as direct as you can get without fighting. And then solutions to problems in the Middle East, he was most successful. He granted amnesty to draft dodgers in the Vietnam War. Carter said, "I pardon anyone who dodged the draft and went to Canada. Burn your draft card, get on a motorcycle, cross the border, and live in Canada." That's what a lot of guys did that didn't want to serve in the war. And he pardoned every last one of them. Because as they come to the United States, they've been arrested, tried, and convicted. I didn't want to talk about this yet. I need to talk about the Carter's energy policy. I want to talk about that. I'll talk about the Iranian hostage crisis, just the beginning of the block period. Okay, I promise I won't lecture the whole block, but I'll tell you about the hostage crisis, and I'll transition us into Reagan. Okay, and then I'll have something for you to do on Reagan. I got to have it by tomorrow, don't I, for the second period. So I'll have something for them, and I'll have something for you at that point. But let's talk about the energy policy. Carter says we're too dependent on foreign oil, and we were. About 80% of the oil we were using was coming from Saudi Arabia, from Iran, from Iraq, from all over the place in the Middle East. Not from the United States, not even from Mexico or Canada. So we were dependent on people we couldn't depend on. And oil was our livelihood. It still is. It's how we get around. And so he said we need to be more efficient. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but back in the day, we didn't have fuel injection. We had carburetors, right? And so you've got 2-barrel and 4-barrel carburetors, right? But on a regular car, you usually have a 2-barrel carburetor, unless it's a muscle car or a big sedan, right? So you've got our truck. So you've got that 2 barrels. So from 0 to about 55, you use 1 barrel of a carburetor. And the more wide open it is, the faster you go, the more power you have. Get to about 55, 60, that second barrel starts to open up. And you start getting more air, and you start getting more fuel, and you get a lot more power when the second barrel opens up. But you use a lot more gas, and your mileage goes through the floor when you open that second barrel. Jimmy Carter puts a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit in place. And I can tell you, as a little kid sitting in the back of the car going 45 miles to Grandma's house, this is what it's like. You're driving along in Kansas and you see a clump of grass. And you look at the clump of grass. And you look at the clump of grass. You keep looking at the clump of grass. It goes over here. And then it goes out the back window. And then you look up here and you look at another clump of grass.
That's the same thing.
And then you keep watching the clump of grass. It's so dang slow. Holy crap. 55 miles an hour stinks when you're a little kid and all you want to do is get out and run and play. All right? You've got to sit there for an hour to go 45 minutes. Holy crap. That was not fun. 55 mile an hour speed limit. My dad grumbled and I grumbled too. Everyone hated it. But we saved a heck of a lot of gas because we never opened that second barrel. Dad sometimes fudged a little bit when he got impatient, didn't think the cops were watching. So we were lucky didn't get caught. That's a good thing. But we didn't drive much over 55 sometimes because we were saving gas. It helps America to save gas. My school, my high school, it's a 3-story old building built back in the 1920s. And some part of the high school was at 65 degrees, not the whole thing. But we had to set the thermostat at 65. Couldn't be. Public buildings could only be heated to 65 degrees, which meant I wore my coat from November through March. I wore a coat to school and just wore it into class and sat there in my coat. Had to take my gloves off, so when I'm taking the test, and then I bright. Because it was cold enough my hands were cold. I had to blow on and write on my test. Because some part of the building was 65 degrees, but I sure wasn't. The room I was in upstairs was not. So that was part of Carter's energy-saving policies. Carter, even though he spent pretty big on government spending for projects and stuff, he saved money in the White House. He would have state dinners where you would have ambassadors, where you would have leaders of the free world, you know, and he would serve chicken, green beans, and rice. Now, I don't know about you, but I like green beans, chicken, and rice. I like that just fine. But if I'm going to have a very important person, I'll be having some prime rib. I'll be having some Cornish game hens. I'll be having some T-bone steaks or something like that. Best America has to offer. He served chicken. It's like, dude, you're the president. You're the host of the world. You should be serving something. No, it's very, let's keep spending down to a minimum. And by the way, you got to wear your coat at dinner because it's only 65 degrees in the White House. It's like, really? That made no sense. No sense at all. So he was kind of going over the top. And another thing he did, he sent his daughter to the D.C. public school. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he was every man, and he believed in public schooling, and he wanted that to happen. Well, I tell you what, she caught a little bit of flack for having security, 4 guys in suits walking in either corner of her, walking her from class to class, sitting in the classroom. You know, she couldn't make friends. She had all kinds of trouble. People would come up and start yelling at her about what her dad was doing or wasn't doing and stuff. I forget the girl's first name, but she had a rough time in the public schools because she was the president's daughter. Every president after that has said, well, do the private school thing just because it's a little more isolated, insulated, not as open to the public, not as mercurial. I don't know what the deal was. That every other president, including the Obamas, put their kids in private school because it was so tough on the president's daughter to be in the D.C. public school. So that was an unfortunate thing. But he really was, and I think his life after the presidency, he was not a popular guy. He got voted out in 4 years, and it was his own fault. And we'll talk about the Iranian hostage crisis and how it sealed the deal. But when you look at Jimmy Carter, when he got out, he started working with the Habitat for Humanity. He's what? High 80s, low 90s, and he still teaches Sunday school at the Southern Baptist Church in his hometown. You know, he's a good guy. You have to admit he is. He may have had weird policies, and I still dislike him for the 55 mile an hour speed limit. That's part of my life I'll never get back.
They can go 70 now.
I can go 70 now. Or 75.
Yeah, or 90.
I go with the 40 crash, right? I don't want to cause an accident. What? What'd you say?
Or 240.
No, my truck doesn't go that fast.
NASCAR.
Well, I had
I can make it go that fast.
I had a Chevy Cavalier with a digital dash, and I love flipping over to kilometers per hour. Oh my God! I could drive 100 miles an hour. Well, it was actually kilometers, so it felt like I was going 100, you know, because it said 110 kilometers per hour. Man, I'm cooking down the road. Great.
I'm not watching.